Our vocal cords are basically two folds in our throat that vibrate when air is blown across them, which produces sound. So I've got a washcloth here that's been sitting out. It's very dry. There's a lot of kinks in it. It's not very flexible, and this would be a good representation of like what your vocal cords are like when your voice is dry. But as soon as we add water to it, I'm gonna try to do this without spilling it everywhere. But as soon as we add water to it, right? And of course, I spilled it everywhere, but it becomes more flexible, a lot more flexible, more fluid. And there's still some dry spots here, and you can see those spots are still stiff, but the wet washcloth is way more fluid, right? And it's something simple. We probably all noticed this before with washcloths, but we forget it when it comes to our voice. When we sing higher, the vocal cords are vibrating a lot faster, so unless we stay hydrated, we can't safely sing high notes. In fact, we can't really safely sing at all when we're dehydrated. Even the lower notes, it can be a little bit taxing on the voice, so to speak. So, it's so important to drink water. I personally drink Kangen water by a company called Enagic. It's a network marketing company, but a local acupuncturist introduced me to these machines that produce alkaline water that's heavy in antioxidants. It's got lower surface tension. And I think that's personally the best water to drink. But right behind that would be warm water. So I know the machines are expensive, and I don't expect everybody to buy one. I don't expect most people to buy one. But the next best thing is room temperature to warm water, because you're still is basically when something's cold, the molecules aren't moving around as fast, so it's going to be harder to penetrate cells, right? And it also, if you drink cold water, it's going to put your body in shock. It's going to go across vocal cords, it's going to stiffen them up, and it's not what you want to do when you're singing. So it's a really, really good habit to get into, to drink water all day long and make sure it's room temperature. That way, it absorbs in your body faster. It's like if you put cold water on the ground on a hot day, it's not going to absorb as fast as if you put hot water on the ground on a hot day, because the molecules just aren't moving as quickly. Just think of like putting a block of ice on the ground, right? That's an extreme example. It becomes a solid, but you kind of get the idea. It's not going to absorb quite as fast. So the other thing is, the vocal cords are not very high on the hierarchy of needs in the body for water. So what I mean by that is, you have your vital functions. You have your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your intestines. Like, you have even your joints. Like, your joints need to be lubricated, right? Things that help you get around day to day, and things that help you stay alive. Those are going to be way more important on your body's hierarchy for what gets hydrated first. So if you're not hydrated, then you go to drink water. You might not even be fully hydrating your cords, because it might be going to other sections of the body. So the only way you can really assure that the vocal cords stay fully hydrated is that if you drink water all day long and you stay on top of it. Because think about when you're thirsty, right? When you get thirsty, your mouth gets really dry. That's because your body's actually taking moisture away from other areas of less importance, so that can keep the vital functions running. And the vocal cords, yes, as a human species, communication is super important, and we rely on it to survive. But realistically, we don't need the clearest, most audible voice in the entire world to communicate, right? You can be sick and kind of groggy, and you can still communicate. So having a crisp, clear, good sound is not going to be really high on that list. So best way to make sure you drink enough water is just carry a really big bottle around with you all the time, 24/7, and that way it's really convenient. Because if you think about it, let's say you're practicing in the basement, right? And the source of water is on the first floor in the kitchen, right? And you're gonna be less likely to drink water right away if the water's further away from you, right? If you have a flight of stairs and a little bit of a walk between you and the water, you're gonna wait longer than if you just had to reach to a side and pick up your bottle to drink from, right? You're not gonna drink as much. You're not gonna drink as often. So, and we also drink in proportion to the bottles that we carry. They did a psychology experiment in a book I read once. I don't remember the name of it, but basically what they found is that if they gave people the same amount of food, but they put it on a big plate versus a smaller plate, the people with the big plate would actually report levels of less satisfaction. And it was the same amount of food, but because the mind was seeing it as less on the bigger plate, we perceived it as not being as satisfying, not being as filling. And so the same thing happens with a water bottle. If you carry around a small bottle of water, you're going to be drinking a lot less. So I carry around, 32. Well, this is more than 32 ounces. This is like 1.1 liters, but I always carry this around with me 24/7, no matter where I go. It stays by my side. That way, the second I become thirsty at all, it is there. There's no driving anywhere. There's no walking to a vending machine, and I can make sure the water's high quality. So, because it's coming from my ionizer rather than from City Tap or anything like that. And you can still get pretty high quality water if you go to like a co-op or some kind of health market. They have good alkaline water there. I just wouldn't go above like 8.5 or 9 because some of that is chemical alkaline. It's not as good for you. But if you just stay on top of it and you really just keep a bottle of water with you all times, your voice will react a lot more like a wet washcloth rather than the dry one that has a lot of stiffness and kinks in it. So it's really important to stay on top of it, and this will help your voice so much. Just stay hydrated, drink a lot of water. I would definitely avoid sodas. According to a book called "You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty" by a guy who studied hydration for 20 years, the definition of dehydration is acidic blood content. And sodas are extremely acidic, anything with really high sugar. You can drink like herbal teas and things like that, but anything with caffeine in it, it's not going to be fully hydrating for your voice or your body in general. So if you are going to drink anything outside of water, I still recommend drinking water in addition to that, just to make sure that you stay hydrated. Because if you think about like tea, a lot of times when we drink that, we feel like it did something, but then we're going to the bathroom and like it's getting all flushed out, right? It flushes our kidneys out. So it's just really important to always drink water. And you can drink other things, but make sure that you're still drinking water on top of that.